Ironic how we live in a society which is so hyper connected. We have devices in our pocket that can connect us to someone at the other side of the world. We've got unlimited opportunities to make new friends, to get into relationships, to be connected to the whole world. Yet, with all this opportunity, we seem to be the most depressed and anxious versions of humans ever. If you look at the statistics coming out from the mental health crisis, we are the most anxious versions of humans ever, depressed versions of humans ever. Suicide rates are increasing, and people are reporting being more lonely than ever. And how ironic is that all of these problems are arising in a world where you have the ability to communicate to anyone on the planet? So I think we really need to question what is happening here. Why is this massive disconnect between the purpose of technology and the purpose of social media and the results that it's producing? I think first when social media came out, that was the promise of it. It was, here we go, here's an opportunity to connect to the people that you know and love a more convenient way. And for a couple of years, that's what it served. It served that purpose of, I can go onto Facebook and I can check what my friends are doing. I can message him. It's going to be easier to meet up, and we can use this tool as a way to enhance our relationship. But as these companies have become more orientated around trying to make more money, trying to make you an asset, they've changed their algorithms and they've changed their purpose to a way that is to get you to spend as much time on them platforms as possible. The purpose is no longer let's make society better. That's not their overarching goal. It is now to, how can we monetize this individual? How can we get them as addicted as possible to their platform? How can we hijack their dopamine receptors? How can we learn about the evolutionary psychology of the brain to get them all addicted as possible so they can spend as much time on our platforms and in return become less connected? It's worrying that we're in this perpetual state of distraction all the time. And because we're constantly excessively using our phones, we're never looking up and building relationships with the people around us. If you look at the average day of a person in the 21st century now, they're spending up to 3 to 6 hours a day on their phone. How are we going to get anything done as a society? How are we going to be productive if we can't even look up from our screen to see what's going on around us in reality? And we wonder why we feel so depressed and so anxious. The human mind has developed certain mechanisms to be social. Through a process of natural selection, we have evolved mechanisms in the brain to help us socialize with other people, because humans instinctively aren't very adaptable creatures, in a sense of we haven't got loads of physical assets. So say if we're out in the savannas of Africa and we're hunter-gatherers and we're trying to survive, we're not very strong. We're not very quick or mobile. We're quite vulnerable in the sense of, like, we get cold very quickly. We don't have fur. We need to find shelter. So one human on his own has no chance of surviving. 10 humans on their own have very minimal chance of surviving. But you start putting 100 humans together, you start putting 1,000 humans together, you start putting tens of thousands, millions of humans. That is when great things are cultivated. And because the mind has had to go through that development of communicating with other humans to band together to create a society, to create a tribe so we can help us survive, our brain has seen the importance of our ability to rely on other people and has developed mechanisms to get good at communicating. Therefore, that's why it feels so good to be in an enriching conversation. When you're building a relationship with someone, when you're having a deep, fulfilling conversation, that is why you feel so present, because the amount of horsepower that's going on in your brain, the amount of stimulus that's going on when you're having a conversation with someone, it forces you to be there, present with that person. Really think about it. Really think how, like, intricate human conversation is. Like, you've got someone right in front of you and you're having a conversation. So first you've got to instigate the conversation. You've got to say some words from your mouth. but it's also got to be in a way that that person can interpret them words in a way that is comprehensible. Then you've got to also think, right, how did that come across? Then you've also got to listen to what that person's saying. You've also got to scan and look at the eye contact, the non-verbal cues like body language. Then they're going to say something to you which you're going to have to interpret while simultaneously thinking of something to reply to that person. So you're trying to put your mind in that person's mind, kind of get the gist of what they're saying, and then interpret that, and then come back in a way that you think is going to enhance a conversation. It's such a complex and enriching interaction that's why it feels so good for us. And the reason I'm like talking about this is because we have lost that in our human society. In our society now, we've lost the importance of going out and building relationships and having these deep conversations with people, because we've swapped them for instant text messaging, for scrolling through Facebook or Instagram. Instead of going seeing your parents, and instead of going seeing your friends, the people that make you feel good about yourself, we now swap it for just going on our phone. Oh, I'll like a picture of their cat instead of going and seeing them. Instead of going and seeing my friend's new baby, I will just like a picture and leave a comment on their Facebook. And life has become so convenient that we think is making us feel better, but we've distinguished convenient as progressive, when in reality, convenient doesn't always mean that it's going to make us feel better. Whatever is convenient is the easy way out, and it doesn't always work. It doesn't always fulfill our purposes as a society. That's not to say that these devices and the way we live and the advancements of technology aren't an amazing thing. It's crazy how I can get a laptop, hop on a podcast, record, and send, and then people from the other side of the world can listen to it. That is absolutely crazy. It's crazy that I can go and message my mate from Australia and ask him how he's doing, and we can maybe link up again one day. But this, we shouldn't just take all the benefits at face value. We should also look at things logically and strategically and see, how can I use these tools to advance my life instead of be in my life? This digital age is going to get worse. From what I can see with the rise of social media, with like, this is the first generation of kids now that have really grew up with a phone. And I can just see it getting progressively worse. I can see them having less social skills, less desire to go out and communicate. They're going to have more mental health problems, more anxiety, more depression. And these are the future of our society. These are the people that are going to have kids and then bring up their kids who bring up their kids. Are the people that are going to create the new businesses that should be out there building families and creating a better society. But how are they going to do that when they're so lost and confused because they're in a perpetual state of distraction due to their phone use? This loss of connection and this like building relationships with people is so important, and like you always feel at home when you're with your boys or you're with your family and you're having a good time. You're just there, you're present. That is when you feel good about yourself. And the amount of depression, anxiety that's happening is only reinforcing the fact that people need to keep going into their phone, because now we've got this tool that offers us a step away from our thoughts at any moment. As soon as challenging thoughts are coming up for people, they can go straight into their phone. Instead of, in reality, like they would, let's say 10 years ago, 20 years ago, they would have to sit with that negative thought. Then they would maybe think, oh, this is too much for me to deal with. I'm going to go speak to someone. Now, they just go on their phone and they get the dopamine spikes of scrolling through the algorithm, scrolling through social media, which then takes them away from that negative thought. But that negative thought doesn't just disappear. The negative ideas you have about yourself and your progress in life, that your self-image, don't just disappear. They get They get driven into your subconscious and suppressed, and they sit there as your shadow. That part of your ego just gets more and more inflated because the things you're afraid of don't get dealt with. You don't bring them up to your conscious awareness. It's like you're suppressing everything, and the more you suppress things, the more they bubble in your mind, and eventually they're going to explode. It's like what you resist persists. And if you keep resisting the idea that you've got all these negative thoughts, and with the use of social media, then it's going to persist. These negative thoughts are going to get more and more aggressive, more and more frequent, and eventually they're going to bubble over, and something's going to happen to your mental health. You're going to have a massive strike of anxiety, depression, and look at the statistics coming out. This is happening right now. How can we be in a 21st century of hyper-connectedness? How can we be the most depressed people and the most anxious people? There's also a lot else that's going on with the lost art of connection and the mental health crisis. It's not just excessive technology use, but it's a massive culprit. And we've been so tricked by these social media companies to think that we have to have this or we're going to miss out. If you don't have Facebook, like, how are you going to talk to people? How are you going to be connected? Like, you need to have Instagram. You need to have social media. And whilst if you can use these tools productively, they're amazing, they're not a substitute for your real life. If you really look at how social media is cultivated, it's really interesting to like kind of extrapolate what you see as the face value and kind of think of it in an abstract way. So you go on social media and you're posting pictures of yourself, you're posting another image, so you're creating another persona that's going onto this like technology. And through this, you're posting the highlights of your life. You're only like cherry picking the best parts of you and posting that online. And so everyone in the world is doing this. No one's going to like post the worst parts about themselves online. It's just not going to happen. From an evolutionary point of view, we want to come across like statusful. So we're going to post the best versions of ourselves. So you've got everyone posting these perfect versions of them online. And what this is doing is this is creating an ideal that this is what everyone's like. And because we're spending more and more time on these devices, because we're spending so much time scrolling through the algorithms, we're constantly seeing the perfect idealization of people's lives. And our mind, our subconscious, is interpreting this as this is the reality, that everyone is like that, everyone is perfect, everyone is the top 1%. And our mind compares that to our own consciousness, because we experience our day-to-day living. Like, you wake up, you miss your alarm, you go to the job you hate, then you get home, you eat the junk food, but you do a few good things, but you see all the bad choices you do. So you've got a very honest and realistic view of who you are. But when you go on social media, you get the perfect illusion of everyone else's lives, and you compare your honest day-to-day living to the perfect illusion of everyone else. And then that takes away your self-esteem. And once you get these negative thoughts, what do you want to do then? Your self-esteem is getting damaged by the fact that you spend so much time comparing yourself to the highlights of others. You get all these negative emotions, these negative thoughts. You feel like you're not good enough. Everyone else is better than you. And the only thing you do, the only thing you know what to do, is to continue to distract yourself. So you spend more time on the platform to escape from your negative thoughts. But more time on the platform results in you seeing more illusions of people's perfect lives, which makes you feel worse. So then you spend more time on the platform. And they've got you stuck in this vicious cycle of you can't escape. They've got you in this negative self-hate cycle of compare yourself to others, have a negative thought, distract yourself with social media. Compare yourself to others, negative thought, distract yourself with social media. And it's a perpetual state of depression and anxiety, and people are so unaware of this. Like, we're not educating from the base of society. We need to start educating kids about how to use social media correctly, about the negative side effects. We need to be pushing in the mainstream media, the effects of these things. As a society, we need to band together and realize, like, what is happening right now. Do we really want our kids to be socially anxious and afraid of speaking to people and self-conscious? Or do we want them to have confidence in themselves and be peace and happy? Because when they have that, they foster a greater environment for other people. The more egotistical we become and the more anxious and afraid we become, the more we start subconsciously harming others. And the more we suppress our shadow side, the more it comes out in ugly ways. It's like we've all forgot how to be human. The essence of human is being connected. And they've shown this in studies. Like, when you're depressed and when you're lonely and when you have a lack of relationships, that causes more physical negative health impacts than anything else. Than a clean, say if you was to eat unhealthy, you was to smoke, you was to eat loads of junk food, but you had a very peaceful and connected social life, you had loads of family and loving friends around you, you would be healthier than the person that eats healthy, that looks after themselves, but is lonely, that doesn't have people around him. Connectedness and the ability to socialize and communicate is so important for the human animal that it actually causes physiological effects on you. It is the biggest determination on your health and your well-being. So why are we not prioritizing this? Why are we not prioritizing going out for the walk with your friends, or going and meeting the boys and just having a chat with them and being open and honest, or going and seeing your family? Why are we not prioritizing that over social media, over sitting at home and watching Netflix? I don't think society helps with this. We live in this capitalist society where it's like, make money at all costs. Work the 9 to 5, grind the rat race, give away all of your time to earn more money. And inherently in that message is that, like, leisure time is, work is the base and leisure is kind of something that comes after it. But if you look at the original Greek word for the meaning of work, it is not at leisure. So the baseline is us being at leisure, is us chilling out, enjoying ourselves, living a conscious life, experiencing what it's like to be human, communicating with other people. But we have been brainwashed and beaten by society for us to work, grind. If you sit at home and have time with your family, you're not making money. Everything looks through the lens of monetization, make more money. And that in itself, this mindset is what has breeded out social media. Social media has come out of that capitalist mindset. And the way the nerds that are running all of these platforms, the way the business people that are trying to monetize us and turn us into robots, the way they're seeing life, the way they're seeing the advancements of society is to make more money. And that in itself is pigeonholing everyone, because we're not advancing the human race. We're just advancing our own pockets. We're doing everything for greed. So whilst it's like a bigger societal issue, we still need to communicate to people the negative side effects of using these platforms and the benefits of going out and having a conversation with someone. I read a stat the other day as well. Like, this is going off a little bit topic of what I was just talking about, but I read a stat today that now in the past 2 years, there is more young lads that haven't had sex than have had sex. There is, like, the rates of virginity are going up to, like, people in their late 20s. There's more single women than ever. There's more single men than ever. There's more depressed women than ever, more anxious men than ever. All the negative things that could be happening in society are happening from a mental health perspective. We're having less relationships than ever. People can't communicate with the other sex. People don't have any friends. So what are we doing? Like, why are we doing this to ourselves? And whilst it's easy for me to sit here and, like, criticize society, I think it's important to talk about. But I do kind of want to get into more practical steps for the person listening to the podcast. Like, how do we gain our life back? How do we gain this sense of community and fulfillment and build a good social life and a dating life, I think first you need to look at how you value the world. We see the world through our values and our own perceptions. So our perception shapes our reality in the way that we perceive things, and through perception we see the world in a certain way, and through interpreting the world we then act in accordance with that. So we need to shift our idea of like social media is a must, and we need to stop prioritizing going on our phone, and we need to shift our perception to a way that going out and talking to that person is going to make me feel better. So I'm going to prioritize that. I'm going to give it time. I'm going to give it attention. And once you start prioritizing human interaction and actually building a community of people, you will get positive reinforcement from doing that, because you'll realize how much better human connection feels than sitting on your phone. And that then will slowly build up your perception of, oh, I prioritize this, and you'll start prioritizing it more. So you just need to take the first few steps of maybe going to a club, like, say if you want to stop boxing, just go into a boxing club and go boxing, talk to the people there. Say if you just want to have more friends, go and message a few people and go out and actually meet them. Use social media as a tool to instigate these, but go and actually meet people, or go to a chess club, go to, I don't know, whatever you're interested in, whatever hobbies you've wanted to do, go and pursue them and go and make relationships in that. And then that positive reinforcement of pushing out your comfort zone, going and meeting them new people, that's going to make you feel better, which will then lead to you making more actions. Also, you need to put parameters on your technology use, and this is a hard one because these devices and technology has been cultivated in a way to overcome the parameters that we put on them. But you need to be very diligent, and you need to kind of have like a philosophy for your technology use. I've read a really good book recently called Digital Minimalism by Cal Newport, and he goes in the sense that like just quitting social media cold turkey isn't going to cut it in this society, because you kind of need it for the positive aspects. You don't need it, but you can use it in a positive way. And just trying to limit your time on it isn't going to work, because they have already thought of how you're going to limit your time on it, and they have designed ways that they can overcome that and keep you addicted to their platform. So what he's saying is you need to get clear on your values. You need to get clear on your perspective on life, and then you need to have a philosophy for how you're going to use technology to advance your values and advance your goal of what you want out of life. So I'm not going to explain it perfectly here, but go and read Digital Minimalism by Cal Newport. So say, for example, like you really like football and you really like socializing with people. Instead of having a group chat on WhatsApp and watching football on your TV, meet the boys, like message all the boys. It's like, right, let's go and watch a game live, or let's go let's go to the pub with each other and go and watch it there, or let's go and watch a live game somewhere. Like, let's go and play football, golf. Let's go and do this. Like, actually instigate things that you're going to meet people and build relationships with people, because that's going to make you feel better. That sense of camaraderie, that sense of going out and not just sitting in your room and being a little hermit, is going to make you feel good. You don't want to get to your deathbed and realize you spent 3/4 of your life or half of your life staring at a screen. And maybe I'm a bit backwards in this. Maybe this is the way society's going. Maybe society is going in a way where like you have to embrace technology fully. But I can just honestly say how much worse I feel when I'm on Instagram, how much more anxiety I get, how my insecurities and my negative thoughts increase, how YouTube wastes all my time, how I spend so much time stuck down the rabbit hole of YouTube. I can just say, like, when I do the things that are actually productive for me, like I read a book or I go out and socialize and go out and force myself out of my comfort zone and meet new people, I feel more alive. I feel human again. I think that's the goal for us, is just to feel more human again, not to embrace this technology to a fact where it detriments us, but this technology should be used to make us more human, not less. There's plenty of people talking about this, and there's plenty of good information out there, but I think that the more you can rein in your use of technology, and the more solidified you can get your values, get your perspective on life, and use technology in a way to enhance your life instead of being your life, I think the greater your life's going to be, the more relationships you're going to have with people. And yeah, we can even look at like the dating scene. This is, you can go down a rabbit hole with this, and I might actually do a separate podcast on it. But look how like easy it is now to go on Tinder, scroll through the algorithms, swipe on people, and yeah, spend your whole time, instead of actually going out and meeting women and pushing past the rejection and the insecurities and anxieties that come from going speaking to women. Now you just go on Tinder and swipe, and it takes away that initial growth of going out and communicating with women and building up a symbiotic relationship and having all the excitement and the depression and the anxiety. All of this is growth for the human soul. It's building a relationship with people. It's going out there and actually like experience the essence of life. But now we just have people scrolling on Tinder. And the thing is with like Tinder, or if you go on like Hinge or whatever, only the top like 1% of men are getting all the likes, because there is far more men on dating apps than there is women. So a massive cohort of men are fighting for the attention of a small amount of women. So for every like that a woman gives a man, there's like 20 likes that a man's give a woman. So inherently, by the massive disconnect between how much men and women there is on dating apps, there's going to be a cohort of men that don't get any dates because there's only a certain amount of men that are getting all the women. So then you leave loads of sexless men sat here who they beat up their self-image because they're not getting likes on Tinder, they're not getting attention online, and then they seclude themselves, and then they sit at home and they don't go out and socialize with people properly. They don't go out and try and speak to women in person because they've got this self-image that, oh, I'm not valuable, I don't get likes on Tinder, I don't get likes on Instagram. But that's social media portraying one aspect, which is looks. It's so egotistical. It promotes people to be so like self-centered and so face-valued. There's so much more that goes on into building a relationship with someone. Like, a woman could not find you like that physically attractive, but you could be like really funny. You could say things in a way that she finds attractive, that she relates to her past experiences of home. You could be like quite vulnerable and honest, and you can have a really deep communication with someone, and you can build attractiveness through that. But you don't get that on social media. You just get the face value of, oh, that person's got a six-pack, that person's got a Ferrari, this person works at McDonald's. It's just very face value information and relationship building. And if you can learn to like be confident and go out and approach a woman on a street, you're going to have 10 times more value than someone who just sits on Tinder and scrolls but has a six-pack and puts pictures of them in their Ferrari but can't actually communicate because they spend their whole life online. I don't know where that podcast went, people. That was just a bit of like a rant. I think as a society we go in the wrong way, and we need to like kind of center ourselves, become mindful again, and think, where do we want to go as a society? How can we promote people to use everything properly, use technology properly in a way it's going to advance their life instead of harm them? So yeah, thank you very much for listening, people. I hope that was a helpful episode. I hope I didn't just bash technology for the sake of bashing it, but yeah, it's important that you become connected and become human again. So yes, people, I'll see you all in the next episode.